Good morning. Hope you're doing well today. Oh, there's the dog. Today we'll be in 2 Samuel, verse 1, chapter 1, through chapter 2, verse 11. After the death of Saul, when David had returned from defeating the Amalekites, he stayed at Ziklag for 2 days. On the third day, a man arrived from the camp of Saul, with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. When he approached David, the man threw himself to the ground. David asked him, "Where are you coming from?" He replied, "I have escaped from the camp of Israel." David inquired, "How are things going? Tell me." He replied, "The people fled from the battle, and many of them fell dead. Even Saul and his son Jonathan are dead." David said to the young man who was telling him this, How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" The young man who was telling him this said, "I just happened to be on Mount Gilboa and came across Saul leaning on the spear for support. The chariots and leaders of the horsemen were in hot pursuit of him. When he turned around and saw me, he called out to me. I answered, 'Here I am.' He asked me, 'Who are you?' I told him, 'I'm an Amalekite.' He said to me, 'Stand over me and finish me off. I'm very dizzy, even though I'm still alive.' So I stood over him and put him to death, since I knew that he couldn't live in such a condition. Then I took the crown, which was on his head, and the bracelet, which was on his arm. I have brought them here to my lord." David then grabbed his own clothes and tore them, as did all the men who were with him. They lamented and wept and fasted until evening, because Saul, his son Jonathan, the Lord's people, and the house of Israel had fallen by the sword. David said to the young man who had told this to him, "Where are you from?" He replied, "I am an Amalekite, the son of a resident foreigner." David replied to him, "How is it that you were not afraid to reach out your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" Then David called one of the soldiers and said, "Come here and strike him down." So he struck him down, and he died. David said to him, "Your blood be on your own head. Your own mouth has testified against you, saying, 'I have put the Lord's anointed to death.'" Then David chanted this lament over Saul and his son Jonathan. He gave instructions that the people of Judah should be taught the bow. Indeed, it is written down in the book of Yashar, "The beauty of Israel lies slain on your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Don't report it in Gath. Don't spread the news in the streets of Ashkelon, or the daughters of the Philistines will rejoice. The daughters of the uncircumcised will celebrate. O mountains of Gilboa, may there be no dew or rain on you, nor fields of grain offerings. For it was there that the shield of warriors was defiled. The shield of Saul lies neglected without oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of warriors, the bow of Jonathan was not turned away. The sword of Saul never returned empty. Saul and Jonathan were greatly loved during their lives, and not even in their deaths were they separated. They were swifter than eagles, stronger than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet as well as jewelry, who put gold jewelry on your clothes. How the warriors have fallen in the midst of battle. Jonathan lies slain on your high places. I grieve over you, my brother Jonathan. You are very dear to me. Your love was more special to me than the love of women. How the warriors have fallen. The weapons of war are destroyed. Afterward, David inquired of the Lord, "Should I go up to one of the cities of Judah?" The Lord told him, "Go up." David asked, "Where should I go?" The Lord replied, "To Hebron." So David went up along with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelite, and Abigail, formerly the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. David also brought along the men who were with him, each with his family. They settled in the cities of Hebron. The men of Judah came, and there they anointed David as king over the people of Judah. David was told, "The people of Jabesh-Gilead are the ones who buried Saul." So David sent messengers to the people of Jabesh-Gilead and told them, "May you be blessed by the Lord, because you have shown this kindness to your lord Saul by burying him. Now may the Lord show you true kindness. I also will reward you, because you have done this deed. Now be courageous and prove to be valiant warriors, for your lord Saul is dead. The people of Judah have anointed me as king over them." Now Abner, son of Ner, the general in command of Saul's army, had taken Saul's son Ishbosheth and had brought him to Mahanaim. He appointed him over Gilead, the Geshurites, Jezreel, Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. Ishbosheth son of Saul, was 40 years old when he began to rule over Israel. He ruled 2 years. However, the people of Judah followed David. David was king in Hebron over the people of Judah for 7.5 years. So, it seems that this Amalekite was lying when he said he slew Saul, given the testimony of the previous chapter, where it says that Saul committed suicide. But looks like he stole his crown and bracelet anyway. But yeah, thinking that he'd get a reward for killing the enemy of David, quote unquote. He brought the crown and the bracelet, but instead he was punished for it. The line in David's psalm here in 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 23, Saul and Jonathan were greatly loved during their lives, and not even in their deaths were they separated. They were swifter than eagles, stronger than lions. Who greatly loved in their lives. Well, definitely for Jonathan, but for Saul, I imagine this was a painful verse to pen for David. But, I mean, they did sing songs about him. Saul has slain his thousands. So, I don't know. Seems like a funeral eulogy. Also, Abner, the commander of Saul's army, instead of falling in line behind David, he makes one of Saul's son, Ishbosheth, king over all of Israel except Judah. So, that sucks. John 12, verse 20 through verse 50. Now, some Greeks were among those who had gone up to worship at the feast. So these approached Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and requested, "Sir, we would like to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew, and they both went and told Jesus. Jesus replied, "The time has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. I tell you the solemn truth. Unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains by itself, alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. The one who loves his life destroys it, and the one who hates his life in this world guards it for eternal life. If anyone wants to serve me, he must follow me, and where I am, my servant will be too. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. Now my soul is greatly distressed, and what should I say? Father, deliver me from this hour? No, but for this very reason I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name." Then a voice came from heaven, "I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again." The crowd that stood there and heard the voice said that it had thundered. Others said that an angel had spoken to him. Jesus said, "This voice has not come for my benefit, but for yours. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." Now he said this to indicate clearly what kind of death he was going to die. Then the crowd responded, "We have heard from the law that the Christ will remain forever. How can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man?" Jesus replied, "The light is with you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, so that the darkness may not overtake you. The one who walks in the darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become sons of light." When Jesus had said these things, he went away and hid himself from them. Although Jesus had performed so many miraculous signs before them, they still refused to believe in him. So that the word of Isaiah the prophet would be fulfilled. He said, Lord, who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For this reason they could not believe, because again Isaiah said, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, so that they would not see with their eyes, and understand with their heart, and turn to me, and I would heal them. Isaiah said these things because he saw Christ's glory and spoke about him. Nevertheless, even among the rulers many believed in him, but because of the Pharisees, they would not confess Jesus to be the Christ, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue. For they loved praise from men more than praise from God. But Jesus shouted out, The one who believes in me does not believe in me, but in the one who sent me, and the one who sees me sees the one who sent me. I have come as a light into the world, so that everyone who believes in me should not remain in darkness. If anyone hears my words and does not obey them, I do not judge him, for I have not come to judge the world, but to save the world. The one who rejects me and does not accept my words has a judge. The word I have spoken will judge him at the last day. For I have not spoken for my own authority, but the Father himself who sent me has commanded me what I should say and what I should speak. And I know that his commandment is eternal life. Thus the things I say just as the Father has told me. Yeah. Jesus came into the world, delivered this message and all these miraculous signs, and the words will judge in that. Why did you not believe the words that he left you with? So, I think yeah, so I thought Jesus was hiding himself for this feast, but I was wrong. This is a popular analogy here with chapter 12, verse 24. I tell you the solemn truth, unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains by itself alone, but if it dies, it produces much grain. In the case of a kernel of wheat, a wheat seed, it, unless it dies, quote unquote, unless it changes its form to become this plant, it'll end up rotting. And in the same way, there's a lot of analogy to Christ here, and that Christ is going to be crucified on the cross and be raised after that. And likewise, the analogy also applies for us as well, who accept Christ and choose to, quote, cast off our old self and be born again. So, okay, continuing on. Psalm 118, verses 19 through 29. Open for me the gates of the just king's temple. I will enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the Lord's gate. The godly enter through it. I will give you thanks, for you answered me, and have become my deliverer. The stone which the builders discarded has become the cornerstone. This is the Lord's work. We consider it amazing. This is the day the Lord has brought about. We will be happy and rejoice in it. Please, Lord, deliver. Please, Lord, grant us success. May the one who comes in the name of the Lord be blessed. We will pronounce blessings on you in the Lord's temple. The Lord is God, and he has delivered us. Tie the offering with ropes to the horns of the altar. You are my God, and I will give you thanks. You are my God, and I will praise you. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, and his loyal love endures. This is the day the Lord has brought about. We will be happy and rejoice in it. And finally, Proverbs chapter 15, verses 27 through 28. The one who is greedy for gain troubles his household, but whoever hates bribes will live. The heart of the righteous considers how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. More in line with the slow to speak precept. There's another proverb that essentially says, in a multitude of words, transgression is impossible. Yeah. Not transgressing is impossible. Sorry. The idea being that if you're saying a lot of things, then you're going to mess up. I wonder. Got a case example of that right here. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.